This is The Back Pass, a podcast for sports nerds by sports nerds.
Welcome to The Back Pass. Today we go through the new rules presented by the MCC, and they're coming into effect, and we're looking forward to an exciting World Cup. Hello and welcome to The Back Pass. I'm your host, Ali Milwala, and with me today I have some of our regulars, and we give a big welcome back to Sid.
Hey guys.
We have Shivank, Kevin, and Abhay joining us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How's everyone been? It's been a while since we talked cricket. So let's crack into these new MCC rules. So, with these new rules, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to get out of the game?
As somebody who is not on the show today said in our WhatsApp chat, let's bring down the bat-riarchy.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, whatever the rules are, just play in the spirit of the cricket. That's it.
So Shivank, essentially the MCC rules have been designed by the joke.
Yeah, because some people just want to watch the world burn.
So let's crack into it. And there's been a number of rule changes that have led to a number of discussions. And one that has caught the most attention and brought into the whole gentleman spirit of the sport, it's the Mankand. Where do we start?
I'll start. It's a run out. It's not a Mankand anymore.
So say the rules. It is a run out.
It's a run out.
Yes.
So it brings up an interesting question, right? Because now suddenly we have this whole split of like, oh, it shouldn't be a run out. The runner should get a chance. You should get a warning and stick to the old rules and the spirit of cricket. Or is it just like it's a sport? If you're trying to get an advantage, you're also taking a risk.
I'll go first, and I think people who've been complaining about it are the same people who made the rule. That's number one. Number two, it was always a rule. The batter was never supposed to be given a warning. The warning was given just hey, look, you're stepping too much out. Come back into the crease. Like it was a gentleman thing. But then it has happened on so many occasions that I don't think a warning needs to be given. Now, if a warning is given to the batter for actually going out of the crease before the ball is being bowled, are we giving a warning to the bowler as well? Hey, you've stepped out on you've delivered a no ball on a couple of occasions. Just bring your foot back in.
Bang on.
Yeah.
Bang on.
You know? If we're doing that, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the warning being given. Then it's in the spirit of the game. Otherwise, it's a rule. The rule is a run out. You step out, you get run out. Simple.
And look, why should the bowler be not given an advantage to run the batsman out if the batsmen are allowed to steal a few steps to get a single? Like, why is that fair?
Completely agree, Shivank. You know what, though? It would be interesting just to have a yellow or red card system when it comes to this kind of stuff. Just to see the hilariousness of somebody getting a yellow card for stepping over the line for a no ball, and then a red card for doing it consecutively.
Yeah, I mean, and this was not a one-time thing as well. There have been tweets going on about this, that the batter had been doing that consistently throughout the game. So it's even if there was a warning or not, if you are a serial offender, then sometime or the other it's going to happen, right? So it's
I mean, in terms of other sports, the biggest parallel I can draw with is baseball. In baseball, you can steal a base, but at the same time, if the pitcher catches you and throws the ball to one of the other end, you're out. Simple as that. And baseball's had this thing for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer.
There's another aspect to this whole, batter leaving the crease before the ball is being bowled. There is also a new MCC rule which clearly says that when the ball is being bowled, a fielder cannot change their position as well.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? So the fielder can't move. The bowler cannot actually bowl a no ball. So why is the batter allowed to actually leave the crease before the ball is bowled?
Spot on.
Also,
Spot on.
yeah. Also tying to this is, while there is a rule for non-striker, there is a rule for striker as well. Earlier, the bowler could throw the ball to get the batsman run out if the striker was moving forward before the ball was bowled. But now that is going to be a dead ball. So it's not as if that that run out has been the only thing that's actually introduced. Actually, they've taken away one rule as well, which they felt was slightly unfair. Yeah, in that way. And actually, being a dead ball is a far better way to deal with it, I feel. Yeah.
On the flip side, if your fielder moves, it's negative. It's a 5-run penalty now.
Yeah.
As opposed to a dead ball.
That part I really do think is a good part of the game that they've changed, because tidying up that kind of stuff. You see that in the game a little bit. Fielders moving sort of to walking is a normal thing, right? You can walk in, no problem.
Lateral
but when you move in a diagonal
any lateral
sort of
movement
trajectory, you're cutting off certain angles which the batsman is looking for. Now, the game's already tiered to batsmen, so you could argue that both ways. One thing that I was thinking about here that sort of just on the baseball topic, in baseball, the act of attempting to steal bases is to also put pressure on the bowler. You stepping out of the crease is putting the pressure on the bowler as well, because in that kind of tight situation when you have a really, close game, intense, not a lot of runs left, the bowler's trying to keep the other batsman on strike as much as possible. If they're running in and you're moving away to try and get that quick single, you're putting pressure on the bowler and they have no recourse. Whereas in baseball, the recourse is you stop your pitch, you swing the ball, and you see if you can get them out.
Yep. Bingo.
Absolutely. So if you play the game with the rules, you are in the spirit of the cricket. Simple as that, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I think that's pretty spot on, right? The spirit of the game is whatever's in the rule book. You don't have to go any further than that.
I really think it's one of those odd ones that it's like it's clearly someone trying to take an advantage, right? Because taking a quick single kind of add pressure to a team. You can kind of get like a struggling batsman off strike. You can do a lot with just those 3 extra steps that the non-striker takes. It can prevent a fielder from running the batsman out as well. So pulling them back actually evens out that playing field, right? And if they're going to take that risk, they're going to take the risk knowing the bowler might not be able to adjust to get the run.
I'll say one thing, and I had said this thing in the group as well. If the batter is actually out of the crease when the ball is bowled, the third umpire, while they're checking the front foot of the bowler, if the batter's out, then call it a short run. Simple. Because the ball was not delivered. And if the batter's actually out of the crease, then I think it's an unfair advantage. They have not run 22 yards. So then it's a short run as far as I'm concerned.
That one's interesting because the best way to combat swing bowling is to actually stand outside your crease.
No, but that's for the bowler who's...
Non-strikers.
Oh, non-strikers. Okay, my bad. My bad.
Yeah. So then it's a short run because they're not supposed to leave the crease.
Yes.
So do you think, hold on a second, there are circumstances where you would want to take the short run because when a particular batsman's under pressure, especially in a test match, while runs are important, sometimes sacrificing and taking that create a really interesting dynamic in the game.
Hasn't that happened in a game not too long ago where someone intentionally took a short run so that when the strike rotated at the end of the over, the correct batsman was on the correct end or something?
That, I think, is still 5 penalty runs to the other team.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
If they think the umpires think it's a deliberate attempt to, keep the strike or something like that. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think so as well.
Yeah.
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 Like, apart from that law, and that's the big one that's got everyone kind of talking. All the others kind of seem to make sense. I think the one law change that makes the most sense and completely COVID safe is the no saliva law, right? Like just stop using saliva, guys. It's okay. The ball tastes disgusting already. Like, stop licking the shit out of it.
One of my early memories of a cricket ball was like one of our Pakistani bowlers is licking the ball like that.
Yeah,
like,
Waqar Yunus. Yeah, I remember that.
Waqar Yunus,
And Shahid Afridi tried to
eat the ball.
Someone tried to lick the ball. Someone tried to eat the ball. And Aussies were like, hang on, we do nothing of that. We only use a sandpaper.
Yeah, we just use sandpaper.
We do it all in the compartments of our pocket.
So no, I think that's a fair rule. It's about time. Forget the COVID thing. I think from a hygiene perspective, it wasn't the best thing to be doing. So glad they moved on from it.
And look, the ball's been swinging fine in the last three seasons of regular cricket. Like, it's gone in and out just as much as it did before. So might as well add some hygiene to the game.
Which is funny, because cricket is not something that started up like 20 years ago, right? We've had cricket for a very long time. And during that time, no one before COVID thought, just stop putting saliva on the ball. Let's just test if it still swings. Like, let's just stop for a bit. Like, maybe one game where we don't put spit on the ball and see how it goes. Like, no one thought of that. Like, it's crazy.
Actually, my observation has been the exact opposite. The white ball, the games that I have recently seen in the last 8 months or so, has swung a lot more than it used to be. I don't know. Yeah, actually, the white ball, especially the white ball. Red ball has been doing what it has done for years. There's not much change there, but white ball, I've seen that. Yeah.
Two things here. Number one, you're right, it has swung a lot more than what it used to. We all know what happened last year when Shahid Afridi was bowling to India, so it swung a lot. That's number one. Number two, when we're talking about spitting saliva, someone like Ricky Ponting used to spit on his hands and then rub his hands. How do we stop that thing? Is there a rule for that?
That's Punter's spit was basically glue, man. The way he held onto some of those balls was pretty special.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, and he was so cool about it. Everyone used to watch him. He just used to do it and then rub his hands, and then that's it. Nothing happened.
And then he would shake hands with everyone.
He did have a hand towel. No, Punter did have a hand towel. He'd wipe his hands before he was hygienic. He knew what he was doing.
There was sanitizer around back in the day, Kevin, when all this was happening. They only came so now.
I've even seen Punter. He's pretty short, so I've seen him like rub the grass a couple of times as well, especially at Lord's. He would like squat and then rub the grass, rub his thing, spit on his hands, do this, and then get ready for a catch. So it's a combination of all three things that sort of,
So you're saying he's the OG fidgeter and Steve Smith's just copying him in his own form.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, or maybe that is Punter's formula for how he makes that glue for his hands. It's a little bit of soil, a little bit of that dew, some spit.
Yes,
some of that chewing gum that he chews.
The chewing gum he's spitting into his hands. Let's catch the ball.
I like the other law, which actually is about the wide thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love the law, because now the batsmen going in all directions across the stumps, they can...
Actually, Abhay, do you remember that game that we played one season where there was a guy who would always take 3 steps to his offside and then hit towards fine leg?
And then we were never allowed, I followed him so many times outside the off stump, and every time the ball is just wide. I'm like, wow. Just crazy.
So a batsman's going 3 steps to the offside and the umpire keeps on giving it wide.
So let's just clarify the law for everyone listening. So for now and moving forward, we're not going to just blindly follow the white lines that they so conveniently draw on for everyone. It's going to be from the relative position of where the batsman.
So the law states that now it will be where the striker had stood at a point since the bowler began their run up, and which has been also passed wide of the striker in normal batting position. So it will be like moving.
It's a moving target now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's even more a judgment call. I can see a lot more like, oh, rare!
I do see a really great opportunity here for Google Lens to be
Do you want to get bar on every wide call? Be like, no, it was only this much wide.
Yes.
Draw the lines. It's like, it's not wide enough.
T20 will actually last at least like a 50 over game.
50 over game.
If you started DRS on every wide.
Yeah. And if keepers go berserk, every time they catch the ball, they'll just do this. Like, hey, come on. I want to check that again.
You mean Rishabh Pant?
Rishabh Pant, yes. Yeah. Somebody teach the guy how to call a proper DRS, please.
Yeah. Well, he's actually been spot on one occasion, just one occasion.
On one,
when he convinced Kohli to go for a caught behind. That was in England, I think, last year.
Yeah. That one was good. Yes. Out of all the people, people were not convinced, but he was the one who said, no, please take it, please take it.
He was the only one who was convinced.
He was the only one, yes.
That in itself says a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, there are players worse than him. What's his name? Labuschagne. He would appeal for an LBW at fine leg. You know, he thinks it's out.
So now one of the other laws, and this is Law 18, the batters returning when they're caught or crossing over, that's no longer going to happen, which pretty much means that like the end of Lagan makes no sense at all now, right? Like for the future generations, they're going to be like, what is this called, bruh? What are they doing?
It's interesting because a lot of leagues adopted that rule already from the beginning of this year that if you caught, you caught. You can't cross the crease.
I think the 100 started it.
100 started it. I think
last year.
Last year. And then IPL got it. Everyone's, I think, pretty much on board. So nothing new. I think it's about time that thing came into effect as well. I think other than the run-out thing, everything else is pretty good.
I think it makes a lot of sense, but the batsman and me sometimes feels shit. That was unnecessary. Like I would have preferred to have that tactical mobility to rotate the striker. But then if I'm a bowler, it makes perfect sense. Like get the new guy on. If it's a tail ender, even better. Because I can just knock the three.
I just have I'm a batsman now primarily, but I still feel a lot for the bowler. I still feel there are too many laws in favor of batsmen. Give this one to the bowler. Please give this one.
No, exactly. That's exactly why I started the show with let's bring down the bat-riarchy.
The one thing I'd say about that one is if they were really trying to make it in favor of the bowler, what they should do is have the bowler decide who should be on strike for the next ball.
Ooh, yeah, it would be cool, right? It would be cool. I think that would be awesome.
They could decide if with the whole run-out thing, not the Mankand, the run-out thing. If a batter's caught doing it, then the bowler actually decides who's facing him next ball. That would be ideal.
Oh,
and he gets a free. Yeah, okay. He gets a free hit to the stumps. A bold is a bold. That's it. Yeah. If he hits the stumps, it's out.
Then they do that. Then they have like a trial of like the free hit where you just like bowlers bowling to like just the stumps trying to hit them, the bowler, and they all just they were all just really really bad. And they couldn't hit the stump.
Bowl out. 2007 World Cup. India-Pakistan. The only game.
So this was the tiebreaker before boundary counts were a thing.
Oh no. Imagine if they'd done that. Imagine if they'd had a bowl out at the World Cup final.
No,
I would still take it over boundary count.
Boundary count.
Yeah.
But they really struggled, right? Like the bowlers really struggled with actually hitting the stumps, which was crazy.
Funny enough, I was listening to an interview from Vakar and Wasim, and they said Indians were actually practicing hitting the ball, and Pakistanis they never bothered about it. So I don't know. I think Indians were prepared for it because it was a new law which was just came into effect that if it's a tie, it's a bowl out. So I think Indians actually practiced it. Well, I mean, you can call it practice now because everyone actually hit the stumps.
Yeah.
Whereas Pakistanis, they said they were so confident, now we have got the best bowlers, we're not going to miss it, so what's the point of practicing on it?
The best bowlers were either coaching or commenting at that time, right?
That's true.
Yeah, Waqar and Wasim and all those
That's
guys.
true.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Speaking of Waqar and Wasim and lethal fast bowlers, I think there's another one that's come out of that concussion law, and that's around substitute fielders. Now, I feel, and I think we've spoken about this before, I think that's one rule which Ravi Ashwin will have the best interpretation for, which is about substitute players and how they work.
So to play this out a little bit, I'm foreseeing a situation in which somebody like Hardik Pandya or Krunal Pandya or somebody like that, a really good all-rounder, would be your substitute fielder or substitute replacement player. And you would have concussions occurring on the field in which he would come in and bowl maybe a spell of 3 or 4 overs, maybe take a wicket on a pitch that's maybe doing a bit more than you were expecting, especially Test cricket.
I'll take you back to a game last year, Kevin, India-Australia T20. You know, Jadeja was hit on the helmet. I don't think it was something big, but they interpreted the rule really well. They got Chahal to actually come and bowl because it was a like for like replacement. So it was a concussion replacement. They said, look, he was hit on the head. Our medical expert said he's got a concussion. He can't bowl. So we got Chahal in. And you could see, I think it was a Damien Martin at the time who was arguing with David Boone. I think it was. It was quite a heated argument that why are you letting Chahal play? Because he was a better spinner. But it was a like for like. So I see your point. And a lot of teams would do it. Talking of Ravi Ashwin, he would have taken these laws to his lawyer straight away. Tell me how to find a way around it.
The white, the black, and all the shades of grey in between. That's where he wants to operate.
Exactly. So, it would be interesting how teams use this rule.
Yeah.
It would be very interesting.
I mean, it just opens up a lot of possibilities, right? Like, okay, there are limitations. You have to name your 12th player before the coin toss, and the umpire has to know, and you can only bring them on if the umpire agrees. But then after that, nothing's set in stone, except the same rules apply to the player that's being substituted. So if they've got 6 overs left in a one-day match, for example, then the substitute player bowls those 6 overs. If they're out, stuff like that. But beyond that, it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen.
But that's kind of logical, right? Like that's like, I mean, it's weird. Like you're basically replacing like one quick bowler for another quick bowler. Your opening quick has bowled his 10 overs. You substitute him. Another quick bowler comes on, bowls another 10 overs. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. That's just like, why would you allow that? So that just seems like, I guess, logical. And the good part is most of the laws seem logical, which is kind of scary sometimes.
Until Ravi Ashwin finds a flaw in them.
I'm just thinking about this situation played out from the other side as well, where you would have a fast bowler maybe coming up the order a little bit, getting bounced, getting glanced on the head, concussion, especially in the last innings of a test match or something like that. It seems like an easy way to sub off that fast bowler for somebody who can bat reasonably well.
So you'd get a scenario where like other fast bowlers would not bounce the other tailenders.
Yeah.
Because they're like, he'll literally take this one on the head just to get off the field. I'm not going to bowl anything short. And you get a scenario where the fast bowler's like ducking down to kind of get his head closer to the ball.
So you're saying Jimmy Anderson will stop bowling short to Tim Southee then? And bring back the spirit of the game
Potentially,
argument?
No. He's got no self-control, mate.
Yeah.
We've seen New Zealand's bowling depth, like ball bounces at Saudi as much as you want. It's not getting better.
But there's more to this rule with the substitute player as well, because you need to nominate the substitute before the game actually starts. So it'd be interesting how you sort of use the substitute and the concussion substitute. And you're right, Kevin, you could actually be literally begging the bowler to bowl a bouncer because you won't get hit on the helmet. No, I said the funny thing about the Jadeja incident was once he was hit on the helmet, he hit a couple of sixes and a boundary after that. But of course, it took some time to just get into it.
For him to feel the effects.
Yeah.
I feel
the concussion took a while to come on.
Yeah, I feel like if you've watched Ashwin bat recently, he's thinking a little bit ahead. He's quite low to the ground, so he might have known that this ball was coming.
Hey, he's looking after his bowlers because he's anyway so tall. You know, he's like, no, man, I'll make it easy for you to hit me on the head. But the interesting part with this replacement player is if there was any sanction or dismissal from the player they replaced, they inherit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one.
So I'm wondering about the statistics of this one. In the rule book, if you get, out from a golden duck, do you inherit the golden duck from a statistical standpoint because you replace him in that game?
Yes, because it says you actually inherit the dismissal as well. So I'm assuming yes.
That's going to wreck some averages pretty quickly.
I know.
So if I was on 99, unlikely as it may be, and if I have to use a substitute batsman instead of me and Kevin comes on, Kevin gets those 99s.
No, it's only the dismissal you inherit, not the actual runs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but if I get out on 99, then Kevin's averages moves in one direction by 99 because of those 99 runs.
So here it says, the introduction of Law 1.3 says that the replacements are now be treated as if they were the player they replaced on the field. They will receive the sanctions or dismissals which the player has done in that match. Okay. So now if a player has taken a wicket before getting replaced, the dismissal will be added to the account of new player coming into his place. So you take a hat trick and you just get out after the bowler. That's my hat trick now.
So you're like, I'm not going off the field. I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's to combat. So like, you can't score a 50 and then just be like, oh yeah, just replace me, because then whoever replaces you is now got a 50 to their name, and you no longer have the 50.
That's interesting. Yeah, but it says it's only the dismissal will be added to the account of new player. It doesn't talk about runs or anything.
And wickets taken. But it's kind of interesting because with the sanctions, it's if they did a similar thing in football, it's like if you had a concussion substitute and you substitute a player because of concussion, the player coming on could be coming on with a yellow card already because the player coming off already had a yellow card and already had a caution. And those scenarios would get bizarre if they brought those in.
I am sure the governing body of football is listening to you, Ali, right now, and they're most likely going to do something like this because the new state of football isn't complicated enough to begin with.
Now that we've simplified the offside rule enough, handball rule,
and handball,
yeah.
Do you think though there is a fear that I generally have, and for the older cricketers out there, they feel that there's some of the magic being, with these obscure rules being finessed out of the game, there's a chance that you lose some of this magic that cricket's previously had. From an opinion standpoint,
are these rules really impacting the pure magic of the sport, other than bowling a ball really fast or bowling a ball and hitting a ball and fielding a ball? Like, I mean,
I reckon cricket's one of those sports which has done really well to keep up with the times and actually respond to the changing needs in order to keep the game interesting. DRS is a fantastic example. The other one is free hits and stuff. Like, okay, yes, they favor the batsman, but hey, they keep the game interesting. So I think, generally speaking, cricket's doing really well to keep the game moving forward in a direction, which is for the most part positive.
I think the one thing which a lot of people would be uncomfortable with is the run out thing or the Mankand thing. Which a lot of purists are not keen on having as a form of dismissal. I had a discussion with someone the other day. He says, "Why would you have a wicket which requires no skill? That is stupid." And I said, "Well, actually, you are as stupid as a batsman if you get out on a dismissal which requires no skill. So you just use common sense and just be in the crease. Simple as that."
But then that's the same thing as the ball hitting the wicketkeeper's helmet. The batting team gets 5 runs. Like, where's the skill required for those 5 runs?
Where's the skill? Exactly. That's the whole point. Again, it's the whole thing in favor of the batsman.
Or in getting an overthrow, right? Like, I mean, there's no batting skill required.
Exactly. There you go. So
4 overthrows is like, well, just make it 1. Let's go. Let's face it. Like, well, you didn't do much, right? You just stood there.
The 4 runs Ben Stokes got, it's got nothing to do with him getting those 4 runs. It hit his bat, went to the boundary. So if we have to apply the same logic, then those 4 runs should be taken off.
Bingo. Look, the game was heavily skewed in the batsman's favor, and the 2022 set of rules from the MCC basically just bring it back a bit, which is refreshing, because there's been a few episodes on this podcast where we've said the game is very heavily skewed towards the batsman and it needs to be brought back a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you could even go as far as saying, you could pretty much get rid of leg buys. If it doesn't hit the batsman's bat, can they truly actually run? Other than if it comes off their legs or their body, is that still something they can actually run on? Like, should they be able to?
Same goes for buys.
The whole leg buy thing is actually pretty obscure as well, because if you should be seen as playing a shot,
making an attempt,
then it's a leg buy. If not, then it's a dead ball. That's an interesting one as well. But I think it makes sense. If you're not playing a shot, then you had no intention of actually scoring a run.
See, look, like I think cricket's gone on quite a journey, and there was obviously the period when batsmen were just scared of everything because of all the gear that they didn't have, and all these bowlers were bowling bodyline and bowling at their heads without helmets. And so they're like trying to all these rules to protect the batsman or encourage the batsman to score runs. And then we went too far. And now they have all this protective gear and all these advantages and all these rules to help them kind of get advantage over the bowlers. So now we're trying to even it out a little bit.
Fair. But speaking of dead balls, there's been a change of rules to what happens when a ball lands outside the pitch when the bowler is bowling, and I think that's an interesting one because it's got 2 dimensions to it. One is if the batsman actually has to leave the pitch in order to play the ball, and the other one is if the batsman is still on the pitch but the ball lands outside.
He can't actually leave the pitch. If he leaves the pitch, it's a dead ball.
It's a dead ball. Simple.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So David Warner's 6 from last year.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. So basically, that's done with then. Yeah.
That's a dead ball. Yeah.
Yeah. So that doesn't count anymore.
Yeah. That's a good one as well.
Yeah. And I think agreed. That's genuinely a good one. And on the flip side, the other one is if the batsman can, or batter, I should say, actually maintains at least 1 foot on the pitch, but the ball is outside, then they can whack it. And that's totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall it's a good set of rules. Nothing out of the ordinary. Something which should have been done ages ago. We slowly need to bring it back in the favor of the bowlers, just so there is a balance of the game. But yeah, I think from a rules perspective, I think good changes. I still want to see some more changes, especially the umpire's call on the DRS. That's up for discussion because there's no umpire's call. Either it's hitting the wickets or it's not.
I think that this is best saved for another episode. But the umpire's call basically is a pretty crude way of saying technology can only go this far. So because it's inconclusive, we stick to what the umpire said.
Yeah.
I wonder if the umpire's call could be implemented in such a way that the umpire could actually change a decision based on the evidence. Like, DRS is providing an additional layer of evidence.
Yeah.
Then
there was this discussion once. I was sitting with some people who play cricket here locally, and one of them was an umpire, quite an elite umpire. What he suggested was, and I think this makes sense, if an umpire has given it not out, the third umpire needs to ask what was his reason of giving it not out. He could have thought it was an inside edge, whereas clearly it wasn't. Yes. But he thought it was hitting the wickets, but it was an inside edge. Turns out it wasn't an inside edge, but it was umpire's call on impact. Right? That sort of defeats the whole purpose of why he actually gave it not out in the first place.
That's right, yeah.
I think on that note, that's all we have time to talk for, gents. It's been a great discussion. It's good to see some new rules that have a lot of common sense. Thank you for joining me, Shivan, Kevin, Sid, and Abe. Join us here at the Back Pass. Get nerdy with us on our usual channels: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Talk to you guys later.